Let's face it, we are in unprecedented times.
Inflation is now near a 40-year high.
Banks are bracing for an influx of defaulting payments.
From coast to coast, rents are rising at the fastest pace in decades.
Overall, credit card balances especially have hit a new record.
Having worked in the financial industry for over 4 years, I saw a lot of what not to do with your money. I recently quit my job with 2 years worth of expenses saved in cash, as well as well over a year's worth of salary invested into the stock market. So how exactly did I do this at the age of 23? And how did I do this never making more than $22 an hour? In fact, the majority of this was made while I was making $18 an hour. I'm going to share the exact blueprint that I used, as well as exactly what happened in my financial journey, and some unpopular advice. To begin, we need to understand that society economically operates off of us spending money.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
And this is why in every which way you turn, there is an advertisement doing its absolute best to grab your attention and give you the illusion that you need to continue to purchase the newest and best item. Now, to be able to escape this, you have to start paying yourself first. Now, the traditional and societal way of saving money is whatever you have at the end of the month after all of your expenses is what you have saved. This often leads to little to no savings whatsoever. And setting aside 5 to 10% of your paycheck before you spend a dime and refuse to touch it is one of the first ways to be able to achieve financial freedom. Now, it's not going to seem like a lot. 5 to 10% is going to seem like you're making minuscule advancements in your journey to financial freedom. However, the most important part of this is that it creates discipline. We also have to be honest with ourselves. We can only cut expenses and save up so much. So what you need to do is to start developing a skill set. A company literally has to pay you less than you're worth, or else it's a net loss for the company. So the majority of us trade our own time for money, and there's a fundamental issue with that. And one, it makes you easily replaceable. Without having the skill set, you are going to be able to just be replaced by someone else that needs a job. And the second thing is that you're unmarketable. If you are just like everyone else that is needing to trade your time for money, what separates you from the crowd? So marketable skills is what differentiates your income now to where you want it to be. So how do we develop skill sets? Now, education is certainly the easiest option. And traditionally, society is going to say the only way that you can get an education is through a college degree.
For an undergraduate degree, increased by 169%.
Now, society absolutely loves someone that is in debt. And this is extremely unfortunate, but it causes the person to continue to have to work to be able to pay off that debt. But the most important thing is it causes an individual to live in fear, the inability to feel like they can ever pay off or further themselves in their life. This fear causes them to be a better consumer. But there are a lot of affordable education options out there, one of them being a community college. That is a great option if you need to go the traditional route to save a tremendous amount of money. Now, my preferred option is actually on YouTube because you can get such a diverse amount of different skill sets for free at the comfort of your home. If you need to learn about sales tactics or negotiation skills or online marketing, these are all great options to be able to increase your marketability. Another option is going to a trade school, becoming a hairstylist or a plumber. Now, the ideal situation is that these skill sets are going to be able to complement what it is that you want to do for your life. The ideal situation is to become your own boss at some point. Remember, if you are working for a company, you are always going to get paid less than you are worth. This leads us to what do we do with the money once we have it? So to do this, you need to make your money work for you. You need to remember that society does not want you to save money. But if you do, it certainly wants you to keep it in cash. This allows the bank to be able to continue to loan out your money so it can make more, stimulate the economy, but pay you nothing in return in interest. Also, saving your money in cash gives you a lower purchasing power over time. So the dollar you have, it slowly gets eaten up and you can afford less items in the future because of what's called inflation. And this is created by the society continuing to print off money to pay off their own debts. So clearly, it sounds like a great system. So it really comes down to your discretion on what you want to do with your money. Now, a lot of people are going to say, invest in the stock market and index funds or real estate or gold. I'm not going to touch on any of that. I think that there's a lot of other creators and educational platforms that can help you with this. What I may suggest is to invest into yourself in a higher form of education, or to go and begin traveling and gaining the experiences, something that allows you to go towards the path that you want to achieve. Some of the best lessons I have learned is actually from a vacation. In my opinion, I don't think the goal is to stockpile as much cash as you can and just watch your net worth grow. I think the goal is to be able to get enough money to be able to be financial freedom, and then to be able to live the life on your terms, not on what society is telling you to do. So please focus on this last part after you've already achieved saving some money and being able to increase your income. And that's it. I mean, that's the exact blueprint that I followed. And a lot of people are going to try to make your financial journey a lot more complicated than it needs to be, because ultimately it makes them more marketable. So I began working as a teller at the age of 18, and I was making $15 an hour. In my mind, the wealthy people were the ones that drove the nice cars and had the nice clothes. But being able to actually now see bank accounts, I noticed that the people that drove affordable cars and wore regular clothes were at most times the wealthier individuals. I realized to be in the point of where they are, I needed to make more money. So what I started doing was just working construction on my days off with my dad. Now this allowed me to be more marketable, and I went to a homeowners association and said that I could pick up trash and do a little maintenance around there, and they offered me $20 an hour. But because I had listened to my dad enough and knew kind of the playing field of what I was going to be in, I was able to negotiate myself up to $50 an hour. Someone that has never done this, making $50 an hour. This is because I now had a marketable skill set. So now at this point, I have 2 jobs while also going to a community college. But I honestly thought that college was a waste of time. So I spent all of my time that would have been towards school while going to school, I spent on YouTube, and I was learning all about what money actually is. People like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and Ray Dalio, Robert Kiyosaki were all people that I spent a tremendous amount of time learning what it is that they did. Now, if you've ever seen It's a Wonderful Life, you'll know that there's a part where there is a actual run on the bank. And this was something I never thought would be possible. In 2020, right at the start of the pandemic, I was literally working as a teller when a run on the bank happened. And by 2 o'clock, we had to start denying people money because we had no cash left. This fundamentally changed the way that I thought about like the security of money. And I realized that if something really does happen, you're not gonna get it. So as the stock market continues to crash, I had saved up about $6,000 at the age of 20, and I was gonna use it as a down payment for a car, as I'd been driving a 1999 Crown Victoria. But from all of the education that I had learned on YouTube about money, I decided that a car was a depreciating asset, and I had a chance to make money in the stock market. During this time, I realized that no matter what happens, I am young enough to be able to eat up the risk. If I lose everything, I just restart. It's no big deal. So what I decided to do was, from the age of 20 to a little over 21, I invested literally every single dollar I made at work into the stock market, and I lived off of that side job that I had where I was making $50 an hour. So just after turning 22 years old, I was $10,000 away from a 6-figure net worth, and I was only making $18 an hour. I still had my side job, and with this, I was able to now buy a new car. Well, it was new to me. I bought a 2007 Ford Focus for $2,000. About 3 months after that, the stock market crashed again. And at this point, I had about $60,000 in the stock market. This was a very important lesson to me because it learned that One, I needed to have more cash on hand because I could either deploy it into the stock market or I had some for security purposes. The second one is that I should have spent more money in investing in myself. My skills were still only marketable up to $18 an hour. So I got what's called a Series 6 and 63 license. You can look that up. It has to do with securities. And this allowed me to now make $22 an hour. But the key point was it allowed me to get bonuses. So I went back to YouTube. I learned about social cues, psychology. I learned about the way that people react, and quickly rose to being one of the top performers in my peer group. And I used this money to be able to move out of my parents' place and be able to get my own apartment in Austin. But most importantly, it allowed me to start saving in cash. At this point, I was no longer investing in the stock market because I was needing to focus on a cash reserve. Now, since I started, I never prioritized my career. I never thought that it was something that I wanted to do in the long run. I believe that the financial industry is primarily a bunch of snakes in a den. So I used it just as the ability to be able to help others as I could, but to be able to make money to put myself to where I am now. So now I was able to quit my job, and I'm using that cash that I had saved to invest into developing skill sets to make myself more marketable. I realized that at the trajectory I was at, I was never gonna make the money that I needed to. I was making a decent income for my age, but as years go on, I was not gonna be able to progress. So sometimes taking a step back seems risky and scary, but if you do it to be able to develop the skill sets that I continue to preach on, that's going to be able to make yourself make more money in the long run. And that's my financial story. A lot of it is just hard work. Some of it was luck. And a lot of it was, you could see I wasn't making a high income. It was a lot of just being strategic in every move that I did. And I really had to be honest with myself. I had to listen to some of this hard realities and advice that I'm about to say. One of them being is that the average new car payment is about $700 a month, and the average used car payment is about $500 a month. If you were not where you want to be in your financial journey and you don't even feel like you're close, you need to sell your car right now. You have no business driving around a car with that high of a monthly payment. I was able to buy a car for $2,000. Go buy a car for $5,000 to $10,000 and just drive it around until you can't drive it anymore. You're gonna save so much money doing it that way. The next piece of advice is for buying clothes to make yourself feel like you were worth something. During this time, I bought 0 clothes. I was buying nothing. The goal is to make your clothes look desirable, so it comes from within yourself. If you are not where you want to be, don't be buying clothes. If you don't have warm enough clothes for the winter, wear a couple long sleeve shirts on top of each other. This is the kind of mindset you have to be able to beat the society and the games that they are playing. Money is a game. Now, if your housing payment or rent is too much, get a roommate. Move in with your significant other's family. Move in with your own family. Move to a place that isn't as expensive. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable. But these are the decisions you have to make to get to the point where you want. I lived with my parents for a long time, and I went to a community college. I did everything that wasn't sexy. And yeah, it sucked at points, but it's what allowed me to be able to save everything that I made and to be able to invest it into myself and get to where I am now. Eating out needs to go from a regular occurrence to very rare on special occasions. I brought beef and sweet potatoes and had that every day for lunch for almost the entire time that I worked at the bank. And this leads us to don't listen to poor people's money advice. I was getting made fun of all of the time for bringing my lunch, the car that I drove, for not buying cars, that I was too frugal and not enjoying my life. These are all things that I was getting made fun of at a bank. And I am 10 to 20 years younger than everyone that I worked with, and I have far more money than they do. Be honest with yourself. You are most likely not marketable. You do not deserve to make more money than you're getting paid. And if you are being treated unfairly and you know for sure they're just wasting your time and taking advantage of it, go somewhere else. Focus on making skills that can allow you to make more money. This was a hard truth that I had to realize. My time wasn't worth anything. All I was a person in a position. I needed to bring the skills to the table to allow myself to make more money. And you're probably thinking, well, I want to enjoy my life. I'm young. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. All these different things are valid, and it's very true. And I personally took it too strict and was too serious about it. However, society is getting more difficult. It is getting harder to be able to afford common things. My stepdad told me that when he was my age, he was able to buy a truck for $500 as well as already own a house. I can't even get through the month without spending $500 on groceries. Times are different, and we just have to face that and we have to accept it. Complaining about it isn't going to do anything. So we need to work differently. We need to work smarter. It used to be hard work was going to get you more money, and that is different. You now have to be more strategic in the things that you do. You have to play the game of money. Again, money is a game. You have to gamify it to be able to win. Last bit of advice is that money does not provide happiness. Money creates the opportunity that can provide happiness. It allows you to be able to have the time that you want to use for your own things. When I was just shy of 6 figures, that was my worst point of anxiety. I was miserable. I was so unhappy and would have traded it all to be able to just feel like a normal human being. So don't focus so much on getting to the end goal, to the financial freedom. Enjoy the process and be able to create relationships along the way. And just think that the financial freedom is just going to come along with the journey. So I hope that you were able to find some value in this. Thank you so much.
We must also work together to achieve important goals for the American people here at home.
Well, I'm happy I'm
This work begins with keeping our economy growing.
making coffee just for one.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
And eating breakfast all alone. Fewer dishes to be done.